Anne Claire. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Good afternoon. We're back to this version of reality. So
I liked the version of reality where you were in New York City with me last week.
I know. I liked it too.
We didn't really film a vlog like we wanted to, or like I was.
It's because we got too excited. We just got talking, and then we were like, "It's over."
I honestly really have trouble like stopping living in the moment to take photos or vlog or do anything like that. I'm actually very amazed by people who have the guts to just be like, okay, everyone, I'm going to film myself at this restaurant or at doing this thing in public. And I'd be a little embarrassed. So there was a part of me that really wanted to do it because I was like, oh my God, a vlog with Anne Claire would be so cool. And then once I get to it, I'm like, oh, I'm a little shy.
Well, I feel like there's two pieces. Like there is like, yeah, it feels a bit awkward probably, but I genuinely forgot until the last minutes. And you were like, we didn't vlog. And I was like, we didn't know. I guess I didn't make it a priority. And so it just...
Right. I feel like if you were here for a work trip, we would have prioritized it, but you were vacationing with your dad and like we weaseled my way in like your little vacation. Excuse me. I'm here.
It's like, I stayed here extra waiting for you.
I did.
So now we have to see each other.
Anything for you, Anne Claire?
Oh, that makes my heart warm. But we did actually have a genuinely good time. And
fun.
It's just, I can't believe that we're going to have to wait 6 months before we do this again. But it will do it for like a chunk of time. So that's good.
Right. And I have a lot of close friends who I will go 6 months without seeing in the States. So the fact that we live across the pond from each other and we are managing to see each other at a pace of every 6 months, twice at least, I think.
It's like, this is the average, but also it's the only one.
Exactly. But also, Portugal.
It's a good goal. I'm down for that. I like this as an idea moving forward, as a reference point.
My sister's frolicking around in Paris right now for Christmas with her in-laws, and I am insanely jealous. And she's making me think I need to go to Paris when when I'm back in Europe for the Recovery Collective retreat in June. My wheels are turning, and that's near you.
That is near me. It is very near me. So keep me updated.
I will. Plans are forming. Okay. All right. Let's talk about our next...
I like this thing. Whatever that is.
It's really entertaining today.
I'm rolling with it.
Okay.
I hope this stays in. Maybe we can put it in like an... But imagine this in sped up mode.
Okay.
Just start dancing on sped up mode and my talking normally. But on that note, we did actually have a question. And it's not a new question. It's just that we had a little technical issue when we recorded this answer last time. So we're having to re-record it.
Yes. So that's totally okay. So
that is okay. And it actually informed us of something important because we're splitting our answer into 2 videos. So stay tuned for whatever's going to come out next week because it will be linked to today's topic, but we realized it needed a separate video. So mega tease, and they don't even know what we're talking about yet.
I know.
So I guess we should start with the question. A lovely human reached out and said, sometimes I feel like my eating disorder is my own fault. Am I actually responsible for my ED?
Well, first of all, my heart goes out to this person because it's very easy to start blaming yourself for your eating disorder. But I want to start by reminding you that eating disorders are a legitimate mental illness that are not just something you choose to have one day. It's not like you wake up and say, I choose mental illness today, right? There are so many risk factors that kind of culminate into the perfect storm, which personally, I love bringing this topic up with my one-on-one clients because I find it's one of the fastest ways to build a bit of self-compassion towards your own situation. And I am a compassion freak. I said that to someone on a call yesterday, and I was like, I need to start saying that more. But anyway, it does help build compassion. So it's not your fault. And today we're going to talk about some of the risk factors that you don't necessarily have control over, right? And they all come together. Do you have anything to add to that, Anne-Claire?
Yeah, I'm totally like you. I love the fact that this is something we can talk about with humans in recovery. I agree that it's a great way to actually give ourselves a break and some kindness and some understanding. And I do want to insist on this. This is not a condition for healing. So when we look at what are the pieces of your puzzle, the pieces that have contributed to you developing an eating disorder, we're not saying you have to have a full understanding and a puzzle that makes exact sense. And if not, you're not going to get to, healing and changing your patterns. That's not what we're saying. So yeah, I just wanted to add that there because my understanding of my pieces of the puzzle was this much when I was doing recovery. And now it's this much because I studied to become a coach and I'm in the field. So I always want to make that very, very clear because I also know that eating disorders are really good at hijacking anything in life. And I don't want someone's eating disorder to be like, see, as long as you don't understand exactly why you developed an eating disorder, then you're not going to be able to recover or like make this like some sort of barrier to healing. It's not.
So true, Anne-Claire. And I think it's really helpful to remind people of that. And to be honest, I was the same as you. I had no insight on why I developed my eating disorder. In fact, I was in denial of a lot of the reasons why I developed my eating disorder. Like I was one of those people going around saying, magazines and the media don't impact me at all. And like looking back, like that impacted me like so much. So
my brain does not function like everyone else's brain.
Yeah, I was like, I'm special. I'm not impacted by the media. I hate that everyone's telling me about this. And then it's like, totally, that was me. So it took me about a decade to reckon with that. And along with all the other things that we've studied as coaches. So I say we just dive right in to show some of our risk factors. And we're talking about our own, but there are so many others out there. Maybe we can list them quickly at the end, share a few of our own just to make sure other people have an idea. So did you want to share one of yours first?
Sure. So one of the ones that I had sort of forgotten about until I studied and I went through this list and suddenly I was like, bing, like light bulb moment, was engaging in weight focus. Because when I was young, I was doing gymnastics and we had to wear, what are they called? Like
leotards
for like classes, but especially for like anytime we were competing or like performing in front of like an audience or whatever. Woof. And with a bunch of girls. So that got hard. That was really, really tricky, especially because at the time I was in a slightly, like on average in my age group, I was a bit, this is going to be funny for you, but I was a bit taller. And I say funny for anyone who doesn't know this, I'm actually quite short and Meg is quite tall. So it's quite funny that at some point in life, I was part of the taller group, humans in my age group. So I was one of the taller ones, one of the bigger ones, and I developed a bit earlier. So I just felt quite different. And I was in a sport where there's definitely focus on what you look like. And it was both like I don't know how it's called. It was like rhythmic gymnastics and like the gymnastics with like the beam and the jumping and the thing. Both of those, both extremely body focused and weight focused. And I have not so great memories about how there was a genuine link between what I had to wear and how I felt. I actually stopped first the rhythmic gymnastics because of how uncomfortable I was wearing teeny tiny swimsuit sized pieces of clothing. I just couldn't. Like literally, I there's this one year where I asked my parents to not be signed up for the competition, the yearly competition, because I just couldn't bear the thought of wearing the leotard. I was just like, I can't wear that in front of people. It's just not possible. And I got yelled at for it, which just made it worse. Not by my parents, by the gym people. So yeah, that pieces of the puzzle was so not aware of it for the longest time until I studied. And then this particular memory actually came back during a session with a client. I was like, oh my God, just remembered this. So yeah, that's an example of a piece of the puzzle.
That sucks, Anne Claire. I'm sad that, those moments are so critical to your development and the forming of certain neural pathways, right? And like, imagine if the person from the gym hadn't yelled at you, but maybe they sat down and tried to have a genuine conversation about the emotions you were having, what could have happened, or maybe a solution could have been found. And it's just like so upsetting that like a passion you had, like gymnastics, was so focused on something like appearance and size and leotards. Like, why? Why do women have to wear leotards in sports? Like, we need to move past this. That's just so frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, I look back to little me and I feel like extremely compassionate and, a bit sad. Like I feel very protective of little Anne Claire. But, at least it gave me some extra understanding. And I'm like, well, of course that felt crap. But, like I would always tell someone like, oh my God, that sucks. I can gift myself that understanding then too, once I'm aware that that could have contributed to me developing a relationship with my body where I'm like, you suck, like you're the wrong size, like I should feel differently about you. And, it's just that much easier. When you're young, you're not gonna, those people around you, your parents, your teachers, your guides, your mentors, whatever, at school, at the gym, different activities, they're the people you trust because, you're a kid, you trust them. And then it's easier or more obvious to just be like, well, then it's my body that's wrong. And that's not fair.
Yeah, not fair at all. Such a bummer. I can relate to that one though, because when I was like in high school, I think many people know this, I did a body focused job. I was doing modeling, and that was intensely body focused to the point of just being constantly objectified. Like there was a saying back then that models had to just be the hangers for the clothes. Like literally that was what we were like equated to being. And there was a huge focus on legitimate, like professional body checking. Like every time I walked into the agency, they would measure my like hips, waist, and chest and write it down. And your worth was directly linked to how small you can get those numbers to be. And a lot of disordered eating was encouraged. Mental health was swept under the rug. I'm sure disordered behaviors were probably sort of encouraged too. Like if I had said to them that I was bulimic, they probably would have been like, good on you for like working hard at staying thin. Like it was that extreme. So yeah, the modeling, they also told me I wasn't allowed to work out because then I would have too much muscle tone. So it was like this really contrived, like you must be super small and be a hanger for clothes and be these sizes. And that was not like my body. I'm kind of more like a Amazon lady. Like, I'm not going to be this like waif-like runway model. I was trying really hard to be that way, but I'm really naturally very athletic and strong build. So it was really tough. It was really tough. And of course, I was like really obsessed with trying to get that body size. So that was a huge part of it for me.
Oh, it's like every single thing you were saying, it's just like so cringy, so disgusting. And I mean, I know, unfortunately, that objectifying people's bodies is still a thing, but oh my God, is this like that on crack? You know, it's intense. It's ridiculously intense. It's like, we don't care how you feel. We don't care if your body functions. All we want is for you to be this version of this thing. And you should totally control that because that's totally within your scope of control. It's like, it not.
Yeah. It was horrible. I mean, the objectification, it's sad because I was so young and I didn't have a good perspective. I honestly took on all of those beliefs. Like, I am as valuable as my body. There's clear evidence and proof around here. I got used to people looking at me beyond my soul and my eyes. Like, it was like I would walk into a room and it wasn't a human that they were seeing. It was just like a legitimate body for whatever clothes they were trying to put on me or whatever like vision they had. So it was interesting because people look at you differently when they're objectifying you. And
yes.
Yeah, it's like effed up. And then also another thing that I numbed myself to all of this, they did not have changing rooms at all. So it's like you're just changing, like stripping naked in front of like a room full of people on set pretty regularly. A lot of girls are underage. The whole industry is messed up. This was like, what, 2008, 2009. So I'm praying things have changed, but it's a very unregulated industry. Mm-hmm. I was really like too willing to make it. You know, I wish I had a different perspective.
I mean, you were young. We can only know what we've been taught. I mean, of course, we can be extra curious and look for things, but the world is telling us how what we look like is more important than anything else. Because honestly, when you were talking about like, you can see when people objectify you and they don't really see you, they see basically your body. It's so true, but it's even true outside of this specific context, right? And I remember like the first time I went on a like proper diet, putting quotes on quotes here. I was in high school. Well, what I call high school because we don't do the same thing as in the US. So 12 to 18, like that's our high school at 6 years. I went on my first proper diet and I was a good student and I still saw what you saw in people's eyes. I still saw the approval, you know, and I still saw the, oh, now you're valued more. The, yes, this is good. Like, even though I'm pretty sure, you know, the rest of what I was doing should have been the focus. And yet that was the thing that I would get and I would receive and see, you know, and be reminded of quite regularly. So, you know, outside of this specific industry that is, disgusting. And, you know, all that you said, just like a red flag upon red flag. It's so true for the rest of the world, unfortunately. And that breaks my heart because I know that that's what you and I are trying to change. But that just makes it so much harder, right? That unfortunately, we're mostly seen first as bodies and then as humans.
Right. And even linking into other risk factors, like that sort of treatment completely looped into me for like low self-worth, maybe, even though I was externally a pretty confident kid and I was pretty confident. I could hold my own in like conversations and stuff. I think there was a part of me that really did like the self-worth was linked there. And I was maybe low self-esteem made me really susceptible to really seeking that external validation. So that is like I thrived off of like those compliments, the praise. And that's really just like my low self-esteem, like anchoring onto something to outside of myself to feel better for some reason.
Mm.
So, that was another risk factor I just wanted to throw in there, was like low self-esteem and low self-worth, which is really sad because I don't think I really considered myself that way back. I think I would have said,
I think I would have never admitted it.
Yeah.
And I think I would have also maybe measured it in the wrong ways, maybe not really knowing what that meant, but same. Like I could see myself in the words there.
Like I said, I was modeling, so I could have had false confidence in like my appearance and been like, I'm a model. I'm confident because I'm like good looking or whatever. It was like the confidence was measured incorrectly, like you said. Like, So I had something to hang my hat on, but it wasn't like true core level confidence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, I say let's list the factors and we'll do another one another time. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I'm going to list some of them. And these are some of the personal risk factors from the 8 Keys to Recovering from an Eating Disorder workbook by Carolyn Costin and Gwen Schubert-Grab. And here are the personal risk factors. I was going to Rick factors. Okay, so everybody watching, make mental notes and recognize a lot of this is part of your perfect storm, right? So being overweight as a child is one. Dieting as a child, which I know many people were put on diets. Body image dissatisfaction. I know I had that. Having a mother who diets or has an eating disorder. So again, there's that like role model in the home and also that genetic link there. Having a relative with an eating disorder. So again, it's just in your orbit and in your genetics. Having an anxious temperament. Early menstruation, being bullied or teased, which I know so many folks, maybe one comment can turn their life into down the eating disorder path, right? Engaging in sports that focus on weight, such as ballet, cheerleading, wrestling, or gymnastics, certain careers like modeling or acting, which we talked about, and a history of childhood abuse. I'm also going to throw in there being a twin, which one day I will probably talk about in more detail on here because I'm a twin.
I do want to like quickly say something because one of the factors that you listed is, I think, being overweight as a child. And now we know that this concept of overweight is...
Yes.
What is the word that I'm looking for here?
Well, it's a very fancy word. It like makes a medical... Oh, that's what obesity does. The word obesity turns...
Underweight, overweight, over what weight, under what weight, like, It's icky, but there's a reason for it. It's because, unfortunately, we live in the weight-centric world. And if you were in the larger body as a child, not only maybe certain things happen to you earlier, like I was mentioning, like with the whole like developing earlier, your body changes. Maybe you have earlier menstruation if you're a menstruating human, which PS we'll talk about in the next video. But you also certainly encounter a whole lot more weight stigma as you grow up. Because you probably have people that keep telling you or keep telling your parents that you're like on an extreme of some sort of crap curve that someone drew. And they're like, attention, this is bad. And sometimes it's going to be maybe somewhat good intentions to try to like shield you from the world that is not nice in any way whatsoever to humans in larger bodies. But that's where all of that comes from. I just don't want anyone to be hurt by that term that is used in this risk factor. That's all. Hopefully that made sense.
Yes.
Like we can't put like it in italic, the words or quote unquote when we talk. So it's hard.
Right. So yeah. It's a very outdated word that I'm sure wouldn't be used in the next version of this book. Right. So when I don't typically use that word. I don't think Anne Claire clearly doesn't either. We hope you guys stop referring to yourselves or other people with this language as well. So anyway, that could be a whole different video one day as well.
We will get to everything, people. We will. One by one, we will get there. But we will leave it to here for today, I think. Thank you so much again for being the best co-host.
Thank you for being with us, co-host Jan Claire. I'll see you next time.
I'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay, bye.